What's up, guys, and welcome back. Today, we're headed down to the sewers with Daniel Stern and John Hurd. It's CHUD, this time out on Warehouse B.
All right, what is up, guys? On Warehouse B today, we're talking a little CHUD. I like to say it like that, CHUD. So this one, I just watched, actually, for the very first time. Andrew recommended it to me. He'd recently watched it as well. I don't know if have you seen it before recently?
I've seen it 2 or 3 times. I saw it a few years ago.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. Thought it'd be worth talking about here on Warehouse B. Kenny, also on Macho, actually enjoys this one.
Oh, good. Yeah, this one, guys, was a little bit of a surprise for me. Seem to have lost my thing here. Hold on, let's try it one more time. This one here was a little bit of a surprise for me when I watched it. I gotta say, it was a little bit slow getting started, but if you can get to a certain point in the movie, it really starts to unfold and pick up, and you start to see the creature more, and I started getting into it. August 31st, 1984 was when this was released.
Yeah. And what I like about this movie, right off the gate, we're getting ready to talk about another movie on another section of Macho Movie Madness where the posters are very similar, where you've got creatures coming out from a sewer, with a manhole cover there, and you've got the New York skyline in the background. Yeah.
Very good movie.
Yeah. The little turtle action.
Little turtle.
But I thought that was kind of funny that we're talking about both of these here recently. And, of course, I really like CHUD. Basically, the basic premise of CHUD is you've got, John Hurd. He plays this guy named George Cooper, and he used to do like fashion photography.
Yeah. He's like a big time fashion photographer. And he's kind of fallen from grace.
Well, he did this pictorial of all these homeless people,
right,
and got a lot of critical acclaim for it.
Yeah.
And all of his homeless people that his regulars that he talks to, are starting to disappear. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you've got Daniel Stern. He runs a soup kitchen. His regulars are disappearing. Captain Bosch, played by Chris Curry, his wife disappears in the opening scene walking her dog.
Yeah.
So they know something's going on.
Yeah.
And so they go down into the sewers and finds out that there's, this government. What was the name of the company? Do you remember?
I can look at it. It's
but there's this big cover
the NRC.
Up. Yeah, the NIC. There's this big cover up. They're trying to move all of this toxic waste through the city, and they couldn't get permits to do it, so they did it through the sewer system and started dumping things.
Yes.
And so that's basically this movie, and it's pretty wild from the get-go.
I love how he's just, that dude Wilson. He's like, it's like hung up because we didn't get the approval for it, so we just it's just sitting here. We haven't been able to move it, but it just turns out they've just been dumping the shit in the sewers the whole time anyway. And an even bigger reveal, and this is going to be a spoiler heavy if you need to come back and watch this after you watch this movie if you don't want to be spoiled, but. It turns out it's not just the NRC. He's not even a part of the NRC. He's overseeing the NRC. He's actually this government deal. He's basically a government garbage man, as
Bosch
calls him. But yeah, Daniel Stern. For if you guys don't recognize that name, he's
Marv.
He's Marv, man, from Home Alone.
Yep.
And John Hurd is the father from Home Alone.
Yep.
The one that we don't know what the fuck he does, and he just has money in this big house
to go to Paris,
to go to wherever. Yeah. He does not have the money in this one anymore, though. He's living with his woman, his girlfriend at the time, who's
Kim Greist.
Kim Greist, yeah, super hot. She's about 26 years old in this one. So if you don't, she didn't do a lot. I looked up her IMDb and all that. She didn't really have a lot of credits. She retired pretty early, I think. She was the mother in both Homeward Bound movies. So for any younger folks out there, or folks, I guess my age, who grew up on those movies in the early 90s, she was a Homeward Bound mom.
And I really like her character in this movie. She's not your usual screaming, girlfriend, like you would have Willie Scott in Temple of Doom or something. Yeah. She holds her own. Yeah,
she's level-headed. She's smart. She seems like she's kind of keeping things real.
Yeah.
In this, I'd say around the time she tells George that she's pregnant is about the time that I started. Funny enough, I started getting into the movie because that whole scene actually was really good for this out of place B movie that no one's ever really probably watched or heard of. I thought it was a really real scene.
Yeah, a lot of modern problems. Do you want to have this baby? And that kind of thing.
Yeah, do you want to have this baby? I don't know. Do you want to have this baby? And he's like, it's your body, it's your choice, it's your career. I'm like, oh, that's weird that it's 84. Things. Yeah, but he's like, yeah, I want whatever you want, and they both agreed to have it, and it was a really good scene, honestly. Yeah. And there's nothing political about it. That was just really good. Altogether, of just two people saying, yeah, this is what we want.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool. And so that gives you a little bit of, it makes you care for both of those characters.
Yeah.
It gives you a little bit of background, a little story with them. Daniel Stern he just runs a soup kitchen. He's real dirty. He's
really
wild.
grimy. This movie's very, very gritty.
Very grimy. Yeah.
They spend a lot of time subterranean in this movie.
Yeah, it's New York. What can you do? New York's really dirty. It's on the dirty side of New York for sure. Not a lot of high class things going on around here, and you're wading around in the sewers a lot. So obviously, it's not going to be super classy.
And you've got Bosch who comes in, and he doesn't tell him straight away, but his wife's disappeared along with a lot of his people. So he's questioning him a lot. And so they spend a lot of time down in the sewers. And I like the interaction between those two.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. I thought at one point you got this character of Murphy that just shows up, which is weird. But at one point you had like the team of Murphy and George, the photographer.
Yeah.
And then on the other end, you have the cop, Bosch, and then Daniel Stern's character, which is AJ, or the Reverend.
Yeah.
The Reverend. And he kind of knows what's up. He's found evidence of all this stuff going on. They end up holding this little meeting with Wilson, who is like this government official, and of course the mayor or whatever. Yeah. And the mayor's little sidekick there, that actor, he was like in The League of Their Own, and he was in and I can't remember his real name, and he was Jonathan Kent in Lois and Clark: The Adventures of Superman, the Dean Cain Superman. Yeah. He was Dean Cain's dad. He was Jonathan Kent in that.
Well, I could see that.
Yeah,
they look a little bit alike.
Yeah, he was that, and he was the ugly girl's dad in League of Their Own.
Okay.
Marla or whatever.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
He didn't know how to raise her like a girl. So,
right. Speaking of characters who are in other things, the character of Murphy, he's in the Abyss, and the character, the guy credited as Shadow, he's the one that takes AJ's quarter from the phone and swallows it. Oddly,
yeah.
He's also in the Abyss, and they share some scenes together.
Okay,
so
cool.
A little bit of a connection there as well.
I was really surprised. I like seeing it. It's just when you watch a movie like this, and you see this kind of really, I won't say diverse, but just interesting cast, right?
Yeah.
Because none of them made it very far, or none of them were really huge. They had their moments in TV and film or whatever. Of course, Daniel Stern was like the narrator on Wonder Years for a long time, pretty much the whole show, right? But yeah, it's just funny going back and seeing some of these guys that you love from these other movies that never were in a lot of stuff. And I've always loved Daniel Stern, but it's just funny seeing these guys in a movie like this.
Yeah. What did you think of the creatures?
So the creatures, I thought at first, I'm like, oh, this is really cheesy, but I kind of liked them, especially like when you find out why they're there and what they are. They're not alien. They're literally like, this biohazard toxic waste dump has been dumped down in these sewers, and they're actually humans that have been exposed to this, and they've become these cannibalistic humanoid. What was the
cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers?
yes, that's CHUD. Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers, but that's what they've become, and I think for a little while, however long this has been going, wasn't probably very long, but however long it's been going, they've been feasting off of these homeless people.
Yeah.
Well, they start rising up, coming up a little bit and grabbing a few others.
Yeah. Like the police chief's wife.
The police chief's wife at the beginning, because they start running out of those homeless people to feast off. And I've noticed some of them were they turning? Or I guess when they brought them down, did they start turning into them because they were exposed? Or did you notice that one of the guys that was attacked, I think at the end, the homeless guys was like, he started kind of mutating a little bit.
I don't know if I missed that or
if I was wrong, but
I know the one guy that got bit on the leg.
Yeah.
That George was down there to see. Is that the guy you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He was leaning up against the wall and he went to see him. He's like, hey, and he called him by his name. I can't remember it now. It escapes me, but
Victor, I think.
Maybe that's what it was. But he turns him over and he starts to bite him and like to try and like attack him. So I'm like, I think he was turning. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like a zombie bite or something.
Maybe. I don't know.
But, yeah, I liked him, and I liked how their eyes
glowed.
had this radioactive glow to them.
Yes.
I liked how they didn't show them, which is always smart in a creature feature, especially when you got a guy in a kind of a rubber suit. They didn't show them all that much at first. But then, as you get into the third act, there's that whole scene where the one is invading their home, and Kim Grease's character ends up beheading one. And its neck's like elongating, and I thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool too, and I love that she was kind of able to just hold her own and fight him off a little bit, and then she steals that, which took out the police officer, and then she steals it. But they were just so sure they got the one, and that was it.
Yeah,
and there's end up a lot more down there. I thought that was pretty cool. And then you have the ending there in the diner. You had the two cops.
Yeah,
Jay Thomas and John Goodman. John Goodman's probably his first role. Maybe
one of them for sure.
Yeah, in his first role, just real short and sweet.
Yeah, and you could tell of the two, given what they had to do there, who was going to be the star, because Goodman kind of stole that entire scene.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, because Jay Thomas. He's one of those guys that you'll probably find familiar. He's a familiar face. He's been in a lot of TV. It's mostly TV. There's some movies in there, and I can't remember off the top of my head. But and then you got the other name, the real name of CHUD. Turns out is the Contamination Hazard Urban Disposal.
Yeah, yeah. Once they figure out what's really going on.
Yeah, once they figure out that Wilson's actually a government agent or
he's a stooge
of the government. Yeah, trying to cover up and get rid of these toxic wastes and whatever they've got going on. These confidential, deep secret tests or whatever they were doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how it like you said, the middle's a little bit slow. It's kind of a slow burn until you get to that last act where they're there at that diner. Everybody comes there. They all kind of go to that diner for that big finale.
Yeah.
They've got the trucks covering the manhole covers, and they're trying to gas out the CHUDs in the last ditch effort to get rid of them before it's all uncovered.
Yeah.
And comes down on Wilson's head.
And I thought Wilson was kind of interesting too, because he was a bad guy. He was a sleazy guy.
Yeah.
But he wasn't really as sinister or as sleazy as I've seen some bad guys.
He still wanted to do what was right.
He wanted to fix it. He wanted to do what was right, but he didn't want to go down with, he didn't want to go down. He didn't want anything to come out. So he was doing what it took he thought was necessary. So if it meant exposing, or if it meant killing the people who knew too much, which, George and AJ ended up in the sewers trapped because they locked him down there basically. And then he ends up shooting Bosch at the end as well.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Which is wild.
Which is crazy. But yeah, he just was doing what it took to cover this whole thing up. Still shitty, but it definitely... You could tell at some scenes where he was very conflicted because he's like, I want to get rid of this problem, but I don't. And he's like, I will shoot you if I have to. But he wasn't like gung-ho about shooting him until he had to. So
Yeah, but I like most of the performances in this movie, and I thought the creatures were pretty good.
Yeah.
Overall, I'd give it probably 3 3/4 out of 5.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'd probably give it about a 3 to 3.5 out of 5. It's really worth. Like I said, it's a slow burn. It starts off a little slow. It took me a little bit to get into it, but when you kind of figure out what's going on, or the characters start to intermingle with each other, and you get a sense of character development and how they are, you start to get behind them. And I think, like I said, it started happening around the time they went to that meeting with them, and he was starting to expose what this was. And then that was probably right after the pregnancy scene, basically. So right in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, all that right there, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get behind this. And Daniel Stern was really good in that little meeting, I thought that was pretty good. So yeah. Anyway, on a budget of $1.25 million.
They did a lot.
They did okay for 1984. It only made $4.7 million at the box office. I'm sure that this wasn't heavily marketed. So, while it wasn't a huge success, at least they turned a profit, it looks like, on it.
It spawned a sequel.
It did spawn a sequel. CHUD 2, Bud the CHUD. Might be the best name ever.
Yeah, we might talk about that. We'll see. Let us know if you want to see it.
I might talk about that just because Bud the CHUD. I'm guessing his name's Bud. I don't know. All right, Bud. Let's wrap this one up. But we wanted to talk about this. We think it's worth checking out if you're a big fan of B movies. If you haven't seen this one yet, definitely go check that one out.
It's on and off of Tubi all the time. So.
Yeah, and it's on Tubi right now. And actually, when I searched for it on Roku, the Roku TV, it popped up on Amazon as well.
Oh, cool.
So it might be on Amazon. You guys might check it out. Just something if you like old movies and you haven't seen this creature feature, check it out. As always, we are here at Warehouse B, Macho Movie Madness. I'm Brandon. This is Andrew. We'll see y'all next time.